Chag Sameach, everyone. The other day we talked about the Arba Minim, the 4 species, and how the willow branch represents the Jew who has no knowledge of Torah and no good deeds, no fragrance and no taste. And God's love is unconditional for all Jews, not just the Esfer Jew, but even the willow Jew. But the message of the Sukkah is the same exact message of God's unconditional love for every one of us. It's interesting that we have the holiday of Pesach and the holiday of Sukkot. And on Pesach, we know we're so precise to make sure that there's not one iota of chametz in any of our food. Even if there's one crumb of chametz, it disqualifies the entire food item that has one drop of chametz. And we go to such extraordinary lengths to rid our homes of any even questionable chametz from our home. However, while we're extremely strict on the holiday of Pesach, and everyone knows the extent that we go through to rid our homes of chametz and not even come into contact with the smallest amount of chametz, on Sukkot, when it comes to building a Sukkah, we're very lenient. When you look at the laws of Sukkah, especially as described in the Talmud and Jewish law, we use every imaginary leniency to make a Sukkah kosher. For example, our rabbis tell us that it says that this is the holiday of God's love, and when King Solomon says, V'yamini sichapkeni, God's right hand embraces me, is talking about the Sukkah. Why? Because when you hug someone, you're looking at their back, not their face. When you kiss them, you look at their face. That means I love you because of your virtues, your good qualities. When I look at your back, it means I love you unconditionally, no matter what. Even if you fall on your face, and all I can see is your back, I love you no matter what. Like the willow branch. When you hug someone, you're building how many walls around them? One wall from the shoulder to the elbow, one from the elbow to the wrist, and then a small wall from the wrist to the tip of the finger. According to Jewish law, we all know a sukkah should have 4 walls. But if you have a sukkah with 3 walls, it's still kosher. Not only that, Jewish law says, the rabbis say, that even if you have 2 walls and a little piece jutting out, 2 and a fraction of a wall, it's still kosher. Very lenient. Same thing with the schach. We know that the schach has to provide shade, but how much shade? So the law is if you have more shade than sun, 51% shade, even though if it's 49% sunlight, still kosher. Not only that, what happens if you have a big hole in the middle of your schach in the roof? So we have a rule called lavud, that if it's less than 3 tfachim, which is like 9 inches or so, it's considered like it's completed. What happens if the 2 walls don't abut? They're detached a little bit. Once again, a good asir, good asir, achis. We have different rules that we imagine that the wall continues up to meet the other surface, and it abuts, even though it physically doesn't. It's like an imaginary wall that goes up or goes down. Why all these creative, imaginative ways to make a sukkah kosher? While on Pesach, we're so strict with the smallest amount of chametz. One of the beautiful answers is as follows. Pesach, we're inviting God into our home. When you invite the king into your house, everything has to be perfect. So we go to every length to make sure when the king visits our home on the night of Pesach, everything's perfect and precise. But Sukkot, God says, come into my shade, come into my tabernacle, come into my Sukkah. And God says, my love is so great for you that I could take you even with your deficiencies, even with your gaping holes. Even if there's a rule called dofen akum, if there's a wall that the schach doesn't meet the wall, you say it's like a crooked wall, it continues. You may feel you're crooked, you're bent, you're out of shape, you're spiritually not fit, you're not complete, you're only 2.5 walls. God says, don't worry. I love you as you are. You can come into my sukkah the way you are. Sometimes in religion, people feel, if I'm in God's presence, I have to be perfect all the time. And I have to be striving, I have to be perfect, and if I'm not perfect, God won't accept me the way I am. And we have to feel we have to conceal or suppress our weaknesses, our deficiencies, our shortcomings, our failures. And God says, it's okay, you're a human being. I created you the way you are. You should strive for perfection, but I love you whichever stage of life you're at. As long as you're growing, you're working in the right direction, I accept you. Come into my sukkah, feel my loving embrace as you are, and don't feel like you have to pretend or project perfectionism, because I don't expect you to be perfect. I just expect you to be doing the best you can and working to make yourself more and more complete each and every day. There's a story told about a foot surgeon, or orthopedic surgeon, who was examining patients in a hospital room. And he comes to the first patient, he starts examining his leg. He's moving it this way, that way. The patient is screaming in agony and pain. Then he goes to the second patient. He takes the leg, he bends it this way, that way. Everything's fine, not a word. when the doctor leaves the room, the first patient says to the second one, you're the strongest guy I saw. That was the most painful exam. And you didn't say one word when the doctor was examining your leg. And the patient said, what do you think? I gave him my broken leg? I gave him my good leg. And the lesson is that sometimes in life we think we always have to put forth our good leg and hide our broken leg, our brokenness, our weaknesses. And Sukkah's message is we all have brokenness inside of us. And everyone has to see that and recognize that and not try to pretend it doesn't exist. Sukkah says, through my love, through the embrace of Sukkah, you'll be able to overcome your challenges, but don't suppress them and hide them because you're okay the way you are. I love you unconditionally.